dtitrader.com/telegram. And also make sure you join us at the YouTube page. To get there, you go to dtitrader.com/YouTube. Let me encourage everybody to jump over there right now. Just go ahead and give us a like, say hello in the chat. Easy, easy to go in. Just hit that site, click on the live link, and like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you got a moment, go ahead and say good morning. Let us know you're in there. All right, let's keep going a little bit here. We are going to be talking about markets. That's the purpose of Train and Trade. There is a very high degree of risk involved in trading. You and you alone will be responsible for the decisions you make. Make sure you make them responsibly. Always consider risk when trading and remember that past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. So let's see. Crude opened at, and actually need to update that, opened at 92.90. Last week's close 82.59. So you can see there's still a little bit of iffiness. Some of that coming from Iran, a large portion of it coming from there. Now, this week we have earnings after the bell today. We've got Intel. I know Tom loves that one. He'll be talking about that in just a few moments. We've got SAP and BKR also coming out. That's Baker Hughes. If you've ever wondered where the Baker Hughes rig count comes from, Baker Hughes. There we go. So they're going to be reporting after the bell. Tomorrow morning, Procter and Gamble, Charter, HCA Healthcare, and one of my favorite stocks, Schlumberger. Get a look at that. Key levels 71.8575 is the current high, all-time high of the S&P futures. 71.73 was Wednesday's high. I got a typographical error in there. I'll get that fixed before we post those slides out. And then Friday's close 71.64 quarter with the week open at 71.0250. Now, Tom, your opinion, I know you can't wait to talk about Intel. Before you do, though, let me just go ahead and say the Magic Five this morning, I think every single one of them kicked off. So AMD, big. Carol mentioned that earlier in the chat room. We posted that in. Probably need to repost that for everybody coming in. But we've got NVIDIA, we've got Apple, we've got QQQ, and let's see, I'm trying to recall what was the other one we had there. SPY, all moving, all climbing, all passing those numbers that you gave us early this morning. So great job on that one.
Yeah,
But
Chuck,
what have you got for
I have a
us?
lot of people, some of the senior TNT people, I get love letters almost daily talking about when I post go long to QQQ this level, and I said, some class I gave said, look, put $2,000 on it. You don't have to buy the 100 shares or, put some money on it in that early market. And I think you're going to find out it adds up. Carol, who lives in California, I mean, she gets up early, takes the QQQ trades on the pivot numbers I give, and you can't do options, but you can do stocks, and they're pretty good. It's pretty good stuff. You don't have to. Maybe you take a 10,000, set it aside, and divide it by 5. Put 2,000 on the ones that set up as a tactic, but if you put that with a combination, maybe futures on the setup days, you got a chance. Like in futures, I told people last night, don't get long futures unless it gets above 65. We learned 2 major lessons. Number one, don't trade before 9 o'clock at night. That was lesson number 1. Lesson number 2 was it was this morning when it finally got above 65. Now you're up 8 points. These are the kind of things that will make you money. And Wendy made money using the roadmap software. She's getting to be an expert on that roadmap, Chuck. That's pretty good stuff. Listen to these success stories from Wendy, because I know she got the roadmap now. And, with the roadmap, you got what I got to look at, and, you learn how to match it up. But I think that sometimes people say, well, I only got a certain amount of money. Well, divide it by 10 and allocate it on these better plays, okay? And I know if you get up early or whatever, I call it the early bird plan. And but I think, and I would just tell people about mindsets. My mindset this morning after watching last night was I wasn't going to trade to 12 o'clock. It was just until we got above 65 and, NVIDIA and all these stocks started moving, I wasn't going to trade. Guess what? I did trade off RB3. And guess what? I got more money in my account than I started with. And from yesterday to today, and I think that you've got to take the trades. Even though I said, man, it's going to be nice to take a break. I'll look at this thing at noon. And the next thing I know, I got alerts going off. The next thing I know, I'm pop, pop, pop. And Chuck went through it. But for me, if you take what I give you, you'll never pay for another class again because it works, folks. It works. And that's the bottom line. Most people would dream about having this kind of advice on a basis. And through TNT, I type it in there and Chuck follows up and Jonathan follows up. I gave a 71.85 target. Actually it's 75 to 85, but I gave that target. And then I said support was 71.05 if you went long. Guess what? It's held. Everything's good. But I promise you I wasn't planning on trading today.
Yeah, definitely. After seeing the way the market reacted to some news at the closing bell yesterday afterwards, saw a big reaction. Tom, I got to tell you, I was pretty confident in the market. Number one, reading your statements, but number two, you wake up in the morning and you see that the market has held support. So it was giving you reason to believe that there could be strength. But getting above 71.73, which was yesterday's high, really just in the past hour or so, sort of confirmation that it's not just waiting. There is a little bit more to this market.
Yeah, I know. I mean, but I was sitting here, Chuck. I had such a great day yesterday, and people listened to me did too. And I was sitting here thinking, boy, it's going to be nice. Sit back, drink some coffee, watch things develop. I've been wanting to do this education we're going to do today in Train and Trade. I got with Jonathan this morning. I think you're going to love it. But the idea is you got to trade when the buys and sells there. So it's tough, though. It's tough. I'm sitting there thinking, well, it's going to be an easy day. I won't have to trade. Yesterday I traded enough to last for a week on that day. I was throwing a lot of darts yesterday, but now today I'm sitting here having a normal day because the market told me to have a normal day.
Yep. Well, that's the key. Always listen to the market.
Talk about Intel. I'll tell you, Intel has met all my expectations. I do expect it to get to 75. I'm curious to see how the earnings go, whether it corrects down to maybe 61, 62 or whatever. I'm ready to step in and buy a lot more after earnings if we get or stay above 65. I can tell you that right now. And that's sort of my pivot number with Intel going into earnings.
All right. Sounds great. Tell you what, let's get to that education. Before we get there, though, we got to talk about this. Tom's books, Roadmap to the Markets, Winning the Day Trading Game, The Markets Never Sleep and Trade to Win, all available on Amazon.com. That's the first book plus the trilogy. And you can catch an audio sample of the first book of the trilogy at dtitrader.com/WDTG. That's for Winning the Day Trading Game. Online public resources, Forex Factory, great place for news. Econo Day gives, I think, a little bit more in-depth explanation of the news. And then earningswhispers.com during earnings season, vitally important website, plus our exchange websites all available. Resources from DTI. We've got the white paper booklet available at dtitrader.com/WP. Tom's YouTube page, where I see a bunch of us have jumped over there. Good morning to everybody in that chat. We've got the important terms to know, Tom's penalty tape, options EDU plus Tom's BNN interview. Little links to go and explore when you have time. The Options Education Resource page. I actually saw a comment about that a little bit earlier. Uh, let's just say we got people who are very excited about that. They certainly appreciate it, and we love the fact that you guys are able to go in there and make use of that Options edu website, dtitrader.com/options edu. All right, so we've got our April FTD stocks, and I would imagine everything's going to be pointing in the same direction. We're getting some nice long movement. Let's see if we've got any changes on this. As you can see, the S&P in the background at 71.75, updated as of, well, just now. So Jonathan got this updated right on time. The VIX, basically, our volatility is still staying low, 18.91. So it kind of crossed that threshold. It's not really continued moving down, though. So watch this one carefully. I like the fact that it's still below 20. But, Tom, I got a question for you. Are you concerned if it gets back above 20?
I think about if I'd get concerned about 22,
About 22?
I'd give it a little bandwidth there because it's really traded around 20. I guess what I'm concerned about, honestly, right now, I'm concerned about not having a great plan by the time I get to July because I'm trying to figure out where I want to put, those serious assets in, not just trades. And so I'm really trying to use train and trade like today to find some different ideas, give some diversification on some stuff for the year.
Great.
I mean, I will tell you, it's a pretty interesting display of April. It's so good, you can't believe it, especially after the month we came off of. So, but then you stand back and look at it and you say, hey, what should I do and how I should do it? Okay, so I think
and
that
those decisions obviously are going to be a lot easier if that volatility is a bit lower.
yeah, absolutely. If you get where you're running between 16 and 18 or something like that, then it makes it a lot easier to carry longer term positions than it is at 20 to 22. I can tell you that. So anyway, those are my thoughts, and I'm just picking out targeted plays after targeted plays. It doesn't feel like I've traded that much this week, but Jonathan will come back and tell you exactly what we've done on, this week. I put out a lot of trades this week,
Yeah, not too many of these stocks flashing that red short. Most of it is long. We still have a few stocks that we're looking to get in line to join everybody else. And
Jonathan, do we have ARM in there, ARM?
Let's see.
In here is one of our stocks.
I
don't think so, but we can add it.
Yeah, I've been watching that stock and I sort of like it. AMD's cooking with gas, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Really like what I'm seeing out of AMD. Let's get up to where the Mag 7 are, and you can see them here. We'll include AMD in that list, and Apple long. I mean, basically everything's looking pretty solid here. Tesla, not so much. Tesla's got some work to do, even after earnings.
Oh, I got a number on Tesla. Would y'all like to have my number on Tesla? I got one. I worked on it last night.
All right, what you got, Tom?
410.55.
410.55. All right. Well, that would definitely get us above the FTD high. Of course, when we go into May, we're going to have a new FTD. We'll figure out where that's setting up. 410.55. So basically, you want to clear that 400 area. I kind of like the way you're thinking there. And the January.
Well, I looked at it and I was trying to say I want to be long Tesla going into SpaceX, and I was trying to find where is a good trigger price to do it, and I think I'm going to do it at 410.
Yeah, I like that because you've got two targets immediately that I'm thinking of, which is the March high, which is on this list at 416.38, and then of course longer term, the open of the year at 457. I always like trading a market, Tom, when it's got numbers to go to. I get a little bit nervous, like with the S&P, when you're sitting there at all-time highs. What's above 71.85.75? Well, common sense, 7,200, but we've never been there before. So with Tesla here, you'd be trading into numbers that you've actually seen before. You actually have a bit of an advantage.
Yeah, it's I think two things that happen. I think that because SpaceX, if it comes out where they say it's going to come out, I think it's really, really going to take some of these tech stocks up as a diversified play. That's what I think. We'll see.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into our main topic here and sector analysis Livermore style train and trade for April 23rd. So
Yeah, folks, if you've been around me long enough to know, I was very fortunate to know a guy named Richard Smitten. And Richard spent a lot of time at DTI in Mobile, and I was fascinated by the story of Jesse Livermore. And I was fascinated because Richard wrote a book called The World's Greatest Stock Trader, and it really it's got such great stuff in there that I think that if you have it, uh, it's pretty wild because it really framed a lot of things I believed in, and in this book I'll read it every now and again because the stories are so great. I love books that teach lessons by stories. It's sort of like a storybook. And I actually went down to the breakers and stayed down there and traded very successfully for about 3 days. I remember that, and that's a nice place to go. But it's down in South Florida, next to Mar-a-Lago. But really, at Livermore, we used to do classes on this stuff in Mobile years ago, and Richard would come over and talk to people, and he could tell the story because he knew him and knew the family, and pretty interesting guy, Richard Smith. Okay, starting with the S&P 500, we always start there when we're trying to figure out what would be good stocks to hold in 2026. And I told Jonathan I gave him an exercise this morning. And this is the first part of that exercise. "75% of all stocks will track the S&P 500. So if we got the S&P going higher, we ought to be having some S&P stocks in our portfolio. And there's a way to sift out what those are. We've got that. And so I'm just going to show you the step-to-step way. How many people would like to hit about 30% in their serious money this year for the second half? I think that's a reasonable goal if you use these techniques, okay? Well, we take the yearly open. That's the most important metric you look at any stock at, the quarterly open, followed by the monthly open, which is what I use probably more than any other number, because even the good stocks will have down months and you have to step aside when they have that, okay? And then the week open, and that sort of helps you navigate using this pattern: year open, quarterly open, month open, week open. It's sort of a way of what I call reading the tape over time. Now, so far we're coming into today up 3.81%. Quarter's up 9. Good quarter we got going, and it just started. Month open we're up 9, and then the week open we're up almost 1%. That's not bad for a week. Now, what I told them to do, let's go to our tools. Jonathan, why don't you explain? This is the daily, I'm sure, right?
This is the daily. Yeah, sure is.
Yeah, go through each of these stocks and tell them what you've done here.
Well, this is just the S&P 500. Look from the MTI by DTI viewpoint. You can see back in early April, we had our first buy signal in quite a while. And this MTI by DTI is based on the first 3 days process. So I think it'd be good to ask, during the months of February and March, did our FTD spreadsheet that we just looked at a moment ago with Chuck and Tom, did that help you avoid pit holes? And during the month of April, has it helped you make money? Type yes in the chat if that's the case for you, because we talk about it all the time. And this month really showcased why we spend the time looking at it. And MPI by DTI is a picture. A lot of people like to look at the numbers. We do. That's what the spreadsheet's for. Other people like to look at the picture, and that's what MPI by DTI is for. Get these daily charts. The way it works is get above those white lines. Trending up, things are looking good. If you're below those white lines trending down, you should stay away from that stock. And in this case, everything starts with the S&P 500. So as goes the S&P, as goes the majority of the market, things are looking real good this month. And your portfolio probably because of what the S&P here is doing. I do want to post, Tom, the link to MTI. It's not what today is about, but it is dtitrader.com/MTI if you like what you see and want to check it out.
All right, so this is S&P 500. Part two, which sectors are outperforming the S&P 500, right? This is what we're trying to do because, here's the way it works, folks. You got a horse race going on, and you want to bet on the fastest horse in the race. You don't want to bet on the one that's going to finish last. You want to bet on the fastest horse. And to do that, we have a process to get to those fast horses. Take it away, Jonathan.
Yeah, well, with the time I had this morning, this was an interesting, morning for me, more interesting than normal. I got a link here that takes you to a website that you can use to track the performance of these S&P sectors. So let me find the link on the slides and post it for you. There it is if you want to open that up on your own computer. It looks like this. Now, I linked the direct link to sector performance year to date is the tab is checked. But if you just went to the main website, if you scroll over resources and you can go down to sector tracker there under resources. So the website, I'm sure, has all kinds of information for you to look at. For today's kind of quick study, I went to sector tracker. And we're going to focus in on 3 timelines, the 1 month, 3 month, and year to date. And we'll dig into this as we go along, and you'll have the link here so you can dig it on your own. But what I did is I looked here, I said, okay, well, energy's up to date for the year, obviously the leader. On a 3 month, they still are. But on a 1 month basis, look, they're all the way at the bottom. So we have some leadership change going on. Clearly, everybody probably has recognized that. This confirms it right here, okay? Now, the leader this month is information technology, XLK technology. So what I've done, again, limited amount of time, but what I did is I went to information technology. I just clicked on it, all right? If you just click on the sector down here, it'll give you a viewpoint for, again, different time frames. All right, it gives you 20 stocks, in this case for a 1 month, but you can toggle it to 3 month or year to date. That's what we're doing here for today's study. What I did is I put all these from year to date on a spreadsheet. And if you want to just kind of take a snapshot of those, or you have it on your own computer now, so you can study on your own, but took a snapshot of all the
Well, what,
Any
just keep it
stocks?
simple, Jonathan. This is great. What is the top two in the XLK sector?
Well, I'm getting there. If you just
Oh, you are? Okay, sorry.
took the top 20 from the year to date, then I went to top 20 for 3 months, and I crossed out the ones that weren't included in both. All right, just trying to find the leadership for the year and then a 3 month basis. Then I went down to 1 month and I did it again. And what I came to, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, about 12 or so, I guess, of the true leadership in the market, meaning they're up for the year, their strength has continued on a 3 month basis, and then the strength has continued again on a 1 month basis. And so, that was nothing, not rocket science or anything like that, but these, from the study I did, as market leadership in the technology sector. So you could do something similar in the other three sectors if you go back
See, I
to.
like what he's done because what he's done is he's done a lot of work for us teeing up what I would call potential plays for us. Then we'll be able to take those plays and apply everything else that we do by putting it in a roadmap and put a tab for each of those sectors. But XLK, what I get out of it, XLK is the top dog out of the. He had 11 sectors, right, Jonathan? 11 of them, and the top two are ZN and COHR, and then I see Dell and GLWs up there. So those would be considered by me. I told him the top two, but I'd go down at least four levels here and look at those stocks, and then I would take those four and put it into our 3-day algo, and then I would take it and put it into the trade tracker, and now I've got my work being done by technology instead of having to go back and replow the field to find these suckers. Great job.
So we'll just move on down the slides and let me repost the slides real quick. In the presentation, I don't know if we'll go through all this in a lot of details, but the next step is, of course, reading the tape. That's what we do here at DTI. And I got some basics on the slides for you, like figuring out what a strong bar is across any time frame. Close finishes near the high of the bar. What a weak bar is, the opposite. The close of the bar finishes near the bottom of the bar. And then uncertain bar closes about where it opens. We have a 2R pattern, a classic buy signal where we look for higher highs and higher lows. Classic sell signal, look for lower highs and lower lows, and then stay out inside bar. Again, indecision. And then we get into the 3 different time frames that we believe you should look at the market. On a monthly basis, we use the first 3 days of the month. We call that the FTD algo. You've seen the importance of that. A whole lot of people in the chat just said, yes, that's helped them this month. We have the week start high and low that we use for our Tuesday Power Plays program. A very cool insight that Tom developed over the past 5-6 years, figuring out what's going to move on a 72-hour basis for the week. And then, of course, we have reference bars for intraday trading. So, again, the first 3 days, take the first 3 trading days of the month, you form a high and a low. All right, the highest high and the lowest low of the month forms a high-low frame. Then you want stocks to break out of that to the upside, which is what we've seen this month. Here it is on the trade tracker that Tom mentioned. And this is giving you the 3-day high numbers, 3-day low numbers, and the week start numbers. And most of these, COHR is only a few cents away, but look at all these showing strength over the month and the week. It's what you want to see in stocks you're buying. Green across the board on the trade tracker. So the trade tracker is really the ideal feature for following on a monthly basis and a weekly basis because it gives you all the information right here inside the Roadmap Trade Tracker. Here's the reference bars. If you're brand new, I'm going to type in a reference bar white paper. Or I'm going to type in the entire DTI white paper list. All right. And then on that, I think the third white paper is focused on reference bars. The reference bars is how we get in and out intraday. Critical. Element of time is, in our opinion, the most important factor in trading. The reference bars are focused on time of day. And then before we go live, Tom, I want to just showcase once again the last step of any, any kind of trading approach that follows a strength is you got to know when the leadership ends and starts to shift and it's time to exit. And I just a quick several different ways to do that, but energy is a good example this year where it's up for the leader for the year. It's the leader on a 3-month basis, but all of a sudden this month it's the tone has shifted. It's now the weakest sector for this month. So things have changed here. And you'll keep monitoring that as the year goes along. And hopefully that website will give you a direct access way to keep checking on those sectors throughout the year. All right, so that was really as much as I could get on the slides for today's presentation, given the time frame I had. Any questions?
Jonathan, why don't we stay with this till we work through this? Because I mean, it's, I think you did such a good job. Why don't we go to, we know what sector 1 is. Let's go to sector 2 tomorrow and do the same thing, because I really think we're on to something. And I think if you can do that, then I'll take this weekend, if we can get through most of it, maybe narrow it down without getting all the details, just take the top 2 on the remaining sectors for all I need with your spreadsheet. Then I'll take this weekend and then I'll transfer that over to TNT and start doing trades over in TNT as we go forward when they set up. That'd give me a whole bailiwick of where to go if we can hit that schedule. Today is Thursday, so tomorrow let's make it a goal to be a little bit more concise on the top 2 on the other sectors, and then have the names, the spreadsheet of those, and then I'll take the top 2, and for each of those sectors, which would give us give me something to sift through over a weekend. I'll identify 10 out of all those, which I'm going to focus on TNT, and that way people in TNT not only will have the beautiful trading going on there, they also have a way to build their portfolio for the year. And so that really gives people a strong argument to join in TNT if they're not members. Okay, Jonathan?
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. We'll be back tomorrow with the other sectors in the top 2 in those. My plan over the weekend is to take it. I'm taking pictures. I took pictures of the days. My plan will be able to go through there, sift out 10 of all those stocks, narrowing it down for you. And then I'll post that, on Monday inside TNT to all the members. All right, let's go to the live market if we can, Jonathan. We can, or you want, yeah, let's do that real quick. Let's go outline where we are.
All right, bring us to a live roadmap here. Once it shows up, going to be looking at a 30-minute chart of the S&P futures. Just hit 71.81 during this half hour.
All right, so here's the way I define the market. If you draw the week open at 71.02, then I told people in futures I was going to go long if we got above 65. My target zone for that trade would be 75, 71.75, 71.85. So all they had to do was watch the reference bars, know when to enter, take the trade, and now they're all smiling that they made the E-mini trade. Now, my next target is 71.95, and then following 71.95, I go to 72.25. What I do is post the resistance and support levels every time they need posted inside the TNT room through the moneymaker. So if we go to the moneymaker right now, Jonathan, go to it and put in 71.95 and 71.45 right now. That's where I would define, you don't want to go back below 71.45 from here. And post that in TNT if you will, and that'd be the updated moneymaker. Do you see where I got the resistance up there and support up there for everything? And you can, come across and say, well, where would the QQQ turn negative? It'd be 552. Where is it? 552. What is it, Jonathan? 83 Aries, SPY, TQQ. You can use this to make money just with a few simple strokes of figuring it out. And that's one reason this is a very valuable piece of what I would call the day and how to do things. Look at AMD, 310.88. If it gets up to 90.95, woo, yeah. Those that trade the SPX, you got SPX up there? Yeah, there it is. It'd go to 71.58 if we got that high, so that's good. Yeah, this is posted in the morning to start with, and then we work it throughout the day when we need to, when the market moves. Other than that, I want to look at crude oil real quick. Jonathan, where did crude oil open the week?
Crude oil, and I need to switch this over to June. Crude oil opened the week at 88.15.
All right, so draw a line at 88.15. And the high of the week's what, Jonathan?
Let's see, high of the week. Today's high, 97.22.
97.22, 88. Where's the midpoint of those two numbers?
Let's see, 88.97. What is that? 9 points. So 4.5 above 88.
About 92.5.
92.5. Yep, I think so.
So crude's trading 94, which tells you right now they're still pushing to the upside. And then if you look at the days open, another thing to do to verify that, the days open for crude is at 92.90. So you got support on crude 92.5 to 93. Until we break that, the market's going to have a little resistance getting in the way to go higher. Okay. And that's what I would, that's why I want to look at crude oil. So we looked at E-mini, we looked at that. You can look at the five real quick, just show the stocks I did in my Magic 5. AMD was one of them, right, Chuck? AMD. NVIDIA was another one.
And then we got Apple, SPY, and the QQQ also.
Yeah, look at all those stocks there. And this is what I mean. You don't have to buy the stocks in 100-share increments, just do it in dollar amount. But if you take that, and it's there for you if you want to take it and make money every day. Because all of them hit the trigger numbers I posted. That was on the suggestion of one of our students. He said, Tom, can you put trigger numbers in? I said, that's a lot of work. And I was kidding. I said, can I charge more? And I said, I'll just leave the price same, but I do it every day now for those 5 tickers. Sort of like the 10 tickers if I narrow it down for today. And so if you look at these stocks, every one of them, as Chuck was saying, gave you an early buy, and they all made you money if you took any one of the 5. Okay. Yeah, Wendy, you got resistance at 71.75 to 71.85 right now. I wouldn't buy the E-mini right here. I'd be taking profit. In that resistance area. RB4, which happens 132, if you got above 72, then I consider buying it up to 72.25 then. Okay. Any questions about how to use this great information today? I don't know what are you confused about? You get what Wendy's confused about?
You had two different Wendy's. Two different Wendy's in the chat is what's going on.
Oh, so, okay. What I would do then, if anybody's asking where I'd get back in the E-mini, it would be time and price. Above 7,200 would be my price, and above a RB4 break out to the north side. Okay. That's what I would do. Pretty clear. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Time and price at 2 o'clock, I'd look at it again. All right, that sort of gives you an idea. Anybody got any questions? You got a few slides on TNT. Tell them what else they get, or what do we do there?
I do. Got about 10 to 12 slides on TNT.
All right, let's go back to the slides. Folks, I don't know how anybody that believes what we do here has got any value at all, and you must to show up at this free conference. How about getting the real stuff by showing up? You got to pay a little bit. It's $200 a month. It's called T-Buzz Talk and Trade. To me, it's a no-brainer. You can cancel any time. I go direct in here every morning. You get my daily game plan. As Chuck keeps telling you, he gets it and works from that. He's been with me a lot of years. Anyway, and today after earnings, I might make a posting in there about Intel. We'll see. It's here. Opportunity. TNT is there. Jim says, have the roadmap, have MTI, and have TNT equal success. The opportunities and details. Who likes to win? Who likes to take money and turn it into a win? Just give me a yes if you'd like to do that, because I thought that's why we're here, right? Okay. Well, here's your chance that you can go in there and do this. That's the beautiful thing about it. Now, here's a typical day in TNT. When I wake up in the morning, I like to look at what happened overnight. So I post my custom page of what I'm tracking, give you the high and low, where it opened there after 5. That's the 5 o'clock print. And the sort of, I got the midpoint there calculated for me I can use. But generally speaking, that's how I start my day. Here's a very important part. 7165. You got the freshest pivot number of the day in TNT. What I mean is that's a tradable number. And you don't have to wait till 9:30. You got it as early as you want to wake up after 5 o'clock. Those were the horses I was going to ride today. Let's just take a look, okay? You got Apple. It went up. It pulled back to the pivot. NVIDIA went up, pulled back to the pivot. AMD, get long at 303. It's at 308. Been as high as 311. The QQQ 653 and 5709. Both soared from those two levels. Pretty good day. Now, I like to go on the web to this website and get what everybody's talking about, because there's some interesting articles I sometimes will highlight, but you got what I'm looking at for information that time of morning, see where the emphasis emphasis of Wall Street might be. My resistance was 71.85. My support was 71.05. If you look at E-mini right now, you got a 71.05 low. You got a high of 71.81. That's almost like picture perfect numbers for you to have in the day. So a roadmap to sit there and look at things using the reference card and plug in the hole. Okay, gold and silver is one of my markets I follow, and I'm telling people it's still under pressure. Intel earnings later on today, you got to watch it, wait and see. That's what I thought at that time in the morning. I thought I was going to have such an easy day today, but I ended up trading and making money, so it can't be all bad. Now, this is something Chuck puts in there for me because these numbers for these different tickers are important to me. If I tracking through, let's just pick one, Adam. Where was AMD last night at 6 o'clock?
AMD opened last night at 6 at 302.
Okay, 302 last night. Now, where was it this morning at 5? Not 5, but RB3.
Yeah, 301.
Okay. And then, no, it was RB2. And then RB3 was 930. Where was it 930 when we opened?
302 and a half.
Start moving higher. Early recognition. See how you trace that through that little trend of 3 dots? You can do that for any ticker on here, and it gives you a heads up. Gold gave you a sell. This gave you a buy. Anyway, that's just the way I use this. Chuck does this for me because it saves me a lot of time when I want to go look at a ticker. Say, hey, I want to put some money on it. TQQ could be used to track too and make money also. All right, what else you got? Yeah, Chuck does this report. Chuck, what do you think this report's good for? Why do we put this one out?
Well, basically, I think the biggest thing is to have some insight into what you're approaching in the market, know the landscape, know what could affect it. This is basically an information. Tom, you used to coach Little League Baseball. This is essentially your batter's lineup. You always got to hand it in. You always have to know, who's coming up next, and just the little things like that. Learn your environment, and that's how you can go about trading.
Yeah, that's a handy report. Keeps you current on what's happening outside, what we're doing too. Okay. All right. Very easy. We keep things simple here. We're not going to bore you with a bunch of useless details. We're going to give you what makes you money. That's the bottom line. This is how we post a trade inside TNT. Pretty simple. This was a long call. Bought it. Sold it. That's just the way it works. Telegram, we keep the Telegram channel. I got it up right now. I can post things in there if I need to. All right, folks. I trade just about everything. Stock too, shares and stock. Sometimes I'll get short things in there too. When I see an opportunity, I got time to evaluate it, I share it with you. So how many people could do better if they knew 80% of the time they could get market direction? Give me a yes if you think you could do better if you knew when the market opened, 80% of the time you're going to have the market direction. Give me a yes. Okay. What if you had stocks identified that fit the DTI approach that's going to run if it's up or down? What if you got a special flash? If they had something that went on today, like a peace agreement with Iran, I called a flash meeting, you got invited. Would that help you? Yes. The reference bar trading, we hammer it in here. Extra income and bonus trades and TQQQ when it sets up. You can go to dtitrader.com/TNT. The next phase of TNT will be building a portfolio for the second half of the year. Jonathan will do the work. Tomorrow we'll go through the rest of it, and then I will take what he does, narrow it down to what I consider the top 10 tickers out of the work he does that we can buy inside and set up for the portfolio. You remember my portfolios last year everybody was raving about? My gold silver portfolio paid people 50% as an example. So folks, here's your chance. Join $200 a month, cancel anytime. But if you join today, your subscription doesn't start to May 1st. That's a bonus that you get. Heck, you can pay for this thing by then if you listen. Thank you for being here. It's time to wrap it up, but I hope you got a lot out of this session. I know I did, and there'll be more tomorrow. Tell your friends we're here. That's all I got. Thank you.
Next time, I'm going to replay the train and trade today. If you want to stick around and hear a replay, maybe you weren't able to make it.
Well, that's a great idea. This is a good one. Do it.
I do need to stop screen sharing for a moment. Stop YouTube.